I love myself a good musical. Now if only I could find one, because Rock of Ages certainly isn't it. This is an awful movie. Can we just start there? I will try to find something nice to say about this movie eventually, but overall, this is just not one that's fun to sit through. Rock of Ages takes songs, rock songs from the 80s, and puts them together to tell the story of a young woman who comes from Oklahoma to find her way in Hollywood, and the young man that she finds there, who I guess is an LA native, and their consecutive stories about what it is to be music artists in the world of Los Angeles and kind of the whole entertainment industry and music industry and making commentary on that. I feel like putting a lot of that in quotes because it just fails on so many of those levels, on actually painting these as real characters, as real people. It feels very put on, very fake, and so much so that I'm almost willing to give it the benefit of the doubt that that was purposeful, that the production of this movie was meant to be like the 80s were themselves. Very loud, very cheesy, a lot of over-the-top kind of a stuff. The problem is it just doesn't translate well to a modern movie. It just does not work. There are so many moments in this movie that you just roll your eyes and you just want it to be over, and it's not. It just keeps going and going. If it weren't for the one good part of this movie, it would have been torture. The one good part of this movie, the songs themselves. When they actually get to the musical numbers, especially the combo numbers, some of that really feels right, like it feels good. There's this great combination between the rock and rollers and the church. The villains in this movie are the church people who want to stop the rock and roll. Between they're not singing they're singing we're not gonna take it, the church people are, and the rock and rollers are singing something about rock. We built this city on rock and roll, and the way those two songs combined, it feels really fun and powerful, and there are moments in there you're going, oh yes, and then the music stops and it gets back to these boring characters and these unfunny situations that are supposed to be funny and instead are just garish. I walk away from this movie thinking you're much better off just listening to the soundtrack. If you really enjoy this music and enjoy that time, then check it out on the CD, because that's where the real fun is to be had in this movie, and it's few and far between. I should also mention one other thing, and maybe this is purposeful because that's kind of, again, the genre of 80s rock and roll. This is the most sexual PG-13 movie I have ever seen. It's not graphic by any stretch of the imagination, otherwise it would have gotten an R rating. It's so intentionally sensual and sexual through the entire movie, and of course now I sound like the villains in the movie who are, lambasting the rock music, but that's what it is, and that's more of a heads up than anything else, just to let you know, even though it's PG-13, just be aware of that. Overall, Rock of Ages has those few fun musical moments, but they do not even come close to making up for the trash you have to sit through in between.